The workmen attached lots of cables to Thomas. Thomas slowly took up the strain, but the section was heavy. His wheels slipped. The workmen were worried. Thomas puffed harder and held the beams steady. He edged forwards, slowly lowering the section. It got heavier and heavier. Thomas had to work very hard to hold the section steady until finally it was lowered into place. The workmen cheered. "You are a very strong engine," called one of the workmen. "And very useful indeed," called another. Thomas was as tired as he had ever been, but he was so proud. He felt like his boiler would burst. "Steamies are better than diesels," boasted Thomas. This made Diesel crosser than ever. That afternoon, Thomas had to collect some paint for the bridge. Thomas puffed into the yard and backed up to the paint freight cars. But Diesel was in the yard too. "Now I'll show Thomas who's best," Diesel whispered, and he gave the freight cars an extra hard shunt. Paint cans flew into the air and splattered down all over Thomas. There was green paint, yellow paint, and red paint. Thomas looked very silly indeed. "Stripey boiler," laughed Diesel, and he rolled away. "I'll show those Diesels," puffed Thomas. So the next time Thomas saw Arry, he gave him a biff. And when Arry saw James, he gave him a bump. Soon the Diesels and the Steamies were biffing and banging and being bumped all over the island. The engines were in a terrible mess. Everyone needed a good washdown, and no work had been done. That evening, Sir Topham Hatt came to see the engines. "You have caused confusion and delay," Sir Topham Hatt said. "The bridge isn't painted, and we will not be able to open the airport. No vacationers will come to Sodor this year," he added sternly. And all the engines were very sad. "No vacationers?" moaned Thomas. "And no airplanes?" groaned Percy. "And now you will never move out of my sheds," huffed Emily. All of the engines were miserable. And that night, they dreamed about what might happen to them if no vacationers came to Sodor. The engines were all very worried that they wouldn't be useful anymore. James was dreaming about the fairground. James dreamt he was a carnival game. Lots of children were lining up, and so was Sir Topham Hatt. The children threw lots of balls at James, and one even knocked the coconut out of his funnel. "I don't like this," groaned James. "I was much happier when I was a clean and shiny engine." But it wasn't only James who was having a bad dream. Gordon was having a bad dream too. Gordon dreamt he was put in a playground. Children were swinging on him. They slid down his slide, and they climbed all over him.
"The indignity," huffed Gordon. "I wish I was a real engine again."
Edward dreamt he was a scarecrow.